Hi, everybody.
Hey, we're back. The dynamic duo.
We're back. I missed you 2 weeks ago.
I know.
You were not feeling well.
I was not.
So Julie and I played with stuff, but that was 2 weeks ago, so I can't remember what we did, honestly.
You did the all in create, and you discovered that stamp that I really like.
Yes, right. We picked
I used
out your
it
favorite
over
right
and
away.
over and over, and I was like, gee, that's pretty obvious. You're right.
Yes, so it's Wednesday. It's we're doing this every 2 weeks. It's dynamic duo time with Nancy and myself, Heather. Thanks for being here. Hello to those of you that come for the replay.
Awesome. So this week we are focusing on color, but specifically we decided to work with Distress gel crayons. So the demo deal does not include the new ones that just came out.
Yep, so these are some of the older...
But there's lots and lots of great colors still. Like,
yeah. Oh, we have a lot of the packs, that's for sure. Lots of options.
Yeah.
So Distress crayons.
Just so you know, they fit nicely in the storage tin, the Distress storage tin. Just thought I'd show that really quickly. We also decided to focus a little bit on the Distress watercolor pencils. Now, if I'm being honest, I've held off on buying these because I have plenty of mixed media items, and then now I've had a chance to play with them and bought them, and I'm
glad.
Really, really glad.
Yeah.
I really am. This was a good investment, and I'll tell you more about that when we get there.
Just as an FYI, we are sold out of sets 1 and 3. We have a couple of set 2 left in stock. We will be restocking them, but that's just what's available for this week, just so you know.
Okay.
And
finally, the Colorista coloring pencils.
So these as well. Yes. These are also on the demo deal for today and tomorrow.
Very colorful dynamic duo day today.
Coloring. Just like we started with.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Coloring. That's how we got into crafting, was coloring way back when.
Oh, little girl. You know what my brothers used to do? Speaking, this is like trauma. Childhood trauma is coming out.
Color on your dolls?
No, I would color and my brother would instantly snitch to my mom. She's coloring outside the lines. My brother was such a tattletale, I couldn't get anything done. He was 7 years older than me, and
coloring outside the lines now is effective mixed media.
Right? I should have.
Acceptable.
I knew where I was going. Didn't I, though?
It's acceptable for sure.
Awesome. All right.
What have you got to show?
What have I got to show?
Nancy was super busy. This was Nancy. I had been busy last week. None under the weather, so Nancy's the rock star. This week she went for it with tons of cool samples.
I did go for it. I did go for it. So I played, I know Heather said she had had a chance to work with the Distress crayons, so I did one thing with the Distress crayons, and then I went nuts with the pencils, and then I'm going to show you a little demo on the Colorista pencil crayons and coloring using Gamsol and blending stomps.
Which we carry, and which we're restocking too, yes.
If you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, it comes in these little packages. We are actually looking to break this. This is a package we have right now for $24.95. Kind of your little Gamsol coloring starter kit. Not in the demo deal, but totally cool to use with your pencil crayons. So in here you have a little bottle of the Gamsol. This is a sandpaper filing thing and 2 blending stumps. So we'll show how to use that shortly.
It is a great addition to your sorry.
I think we have your name, the Demo Divas.
Oh, I love it. Who gave?
Julie Bieber called you Demo Divas.
Demo Divas.
Julie, that's a good one.
I don't know, I might have to change.
I like that.
Dynamic Demo Divas.
That's a lot. But
that's a lot of D's.
Dynamic Divas. Love it. Thanks, Julie.
All right. So let's just get started. I'm just going to show a few things. So, what to start with? Okay. So, this was the Distress gel crayons. So, all I did was I just had a mat. Like I had, when we turn down, you'll see exactly what mat I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the white mixed media mat from Tim. And I just colored the Distress crayons down on my mat, and then I picked it up with my finger and went over the embossed image with 2 different gel crayons. And then when I actually kept going, I ended up doing this kind of card front. So
yeah, so it's just an embossed, or with an embossing folder.
Yeah.
Probably on 100 pound.
It was 100 pound, yeah.
Minimum 100 pound if you're using anything where you're going to add moisture to it.
Agreed.
And of course, watercolor paper, super stock, that kind of stuff is great. But minimum 100 pound if you're just using regular cardstock, because it holds the emboss really nice. But then, of course, you can add any kind of media to it. So that looks really cool.
So one thing I did find was coloring off onto a mat and then putting it on, that's a slower process. So admittedly, partway through, Nancy gets frustrated and impatient. So I found a really cool little trick for this. And I'm not sure how well it would work with all embossing folders, but it definitely worked well with this one. So right along the middle of the leaves is this nice stem. So what I would do, oops, I have it open already. So I just,
you can't see what you're doing.
I know. I'd run my Distress crayon. I just did it off camera. I ran it along there, and then I used that and picked up and rubbed it in a little bit more.
The crayons are pigment crayons, so they work wonderfully with water.
Yes.
And I just tend to spray a little pool onto my mat and just put my finger in it, and I use my finger. Yeah, like super easy.
And then, because it's pigment, once it's dry, it stops moving. That's one thing about the Distress crayon.
Yeah.
So it's water reactive pigment. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So I did that on an embossing folder as well. Same thing, I just ran my crayon along the embossed images, and with a wet finger, I just blended them out.
Okay.
Not quite yet. Can you grab us one of these to show? Please.
Okay.
So yeah. So it works really well with your finger, the Distress crayons, and that's what you did on that. Super cool.
Yes. So this is, I used the watercolor pencils for this one. And here's what I really discovered about watercolor pencils. If I'm traveling and I want to bring my mixed media with me, I think bingo, these are the way, okay? Because these, I can't bring all my Distress oxides, but I can bring this and have a ton of colors and lots of fun, right?
And because they're not just pencils, you can use the shavings to break down to watercolors too.
So what I did for that, that's what this is. So I have this thing that I bought. It's just a screen. We don't sell this, but you can get just a dollar store grater. Like, you don't need anything special.
That's a good idea.
Right? So I just sprayed some watercolor paper down, and then I used my watercolor pencil. So for me, getting into these tins sometimes, once you're in, they're great. But
when you're choosing your Distress watercolors, say if you only want to start with one set, I would definitely check the description of it, because it tells you what colors are in each set. So if you only wanted to start with one, here's number 2, which we have in stock. It actually tells you what Distress colors are in that set. So maybe start with your favorite. Right. And go from there.
So I would spritz down my watercolor, my water all over my page, and then I just used this. And what I do is I like to keep that side pencil-y, so I actually just used the other side and I just rub it, right? And when it hits the paper and the water, it just explodes into this gorgeousness of the background.
Well, that's a good idea. So did you catch that? Nancy's just using the bottom end to shave with, but she's using the pencil end for her coloring.
Yeah.
Smart.
No, that is the Spellbinders 3D blobby blah. I have it here.
The blobby blah.
The blobby blah one.
No, it's actually evergreen.
It's not blobby blah.
Evergreen. This is a really nice one. It is seasonal. However, this is all year round, because it's just.
Wouldn't that be great on camping or outdoors? Right?
Masculine, sympathy. You could jazz it up.
You betcha.
Anyways, yeah, evergreen.
Yeah.
And we really like the size of this one, especially if you're doing a 5x7 card. Fits perfectly as well. Does the A2 size. So, yeah. Anyways. And it's 3D, so remember our tip from before. We might have done embossing folders. To spritz it with some water first. Kind of helps break down the fibers of your paper a bit before you run it through your embossing folder to lessen the chance of cracking. So that's that. I have been doing that a lot more lately, in all honesty, even with some of my 80-pound paper with my 3D folders. I find spritzing it with a bit of water does make a huge difference, and then I set it aside to dry or flatten it out with a book or a heavy stamp.
Yeah. No ironing needed.
No, goodness me.
No ironing. What else did you do?
Well, okay, like I said, not a ton. Nancy definitely picked up the slack on this week for me.
That's going to happen from week to week. We all have our weeks.
But I do love the Distress Crayons. I do love them. They are very versatile. Like I said, they're made of a pigment material, and they're super easy to maneuver with your finger or with water. You can watercolor with them. Endless ideas and videos on YouTube. Definitely, if you just type in Distress Crayons, lots of ideas on there. So one of the things I've done before, and I think I showed this, was just on an embossed image. This was during one of our in-store take and makes we did actually. Just made a little tag with one of the 3D folders. And then I just rubbed one of my, from the metallic set. I just rubbed it on there, wet my finger, and just rubbed it around. So it's just a great way to add some color and a bit of dimension with like a playful kind of effect on it without it being real perfect. Addition to your projects. Now these ones, because it's metallic, it has a bit of the mica in it, so you get the shimmer in there as well. So now how gorgeous would these be on, like the metallic ones on Christmas cards, anything like that too.
But let's just be real. Glimmer and shimmer all year long, right?
Of course. So here's just another 3D
Holy
folder
crap,
on
that 3D folder.
black. Yeah, this
The
is
density on that.
I want to say cheddar. Is that what that one's called? It's cheddar. 3D folder by Sizzix. And same thing. I'll show you once we tip the camera down. Just ran some metallic crayon over it with wet finger and moved it around.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just did some crayon. But when we do flip the camera down, excuse me, I will show you how I watercolor with it.
All right. Let us flip the camera
Yeah,
down.
let's
Let's get
flip
going.
it.
Let's get going. I think that's what you guys want. Let's show me the stuff. Okay, I'm just going to pre-open these all so I'm not struggling with them.
Julia's flipping us down while she does that. Now, Nancy, you want to talk about the mat? This is Nancy's personal mat.
Yes.
You can tell it's loved.
A little loved, yeah. So it's the media surface mat, and what I discovered really quickly as to why I liked this with the watercolor pencils is if you feel it, it's got a smidgen of grit. Okay?
Yes.
So
this is it. Tim Holtz media surface mat.
yeah. So what I liked about it is if I say wanted to use this peacock feather color, I can color a little bit onto my mat. But if I go on a smooth surface, it doesn't want to. It kind of
really do much.
rejects it a little bit almost.
Very
Whereas
good
on
point.
here, I get just a little bit more grit to kind of give me.
It's kind of helping break down.
It is,
yeah,
right?
The material of it.
So there you go. So then I might give it a quick spritz. And now I've got just a gorgeous little pool of watercolor. Now let's just say I don't have my brushes and my, and this is another tool for travel. Like I'm always looking for ways to bring my mixed media along with me without bringing my whole room. So the water brushes came in really handy with these watercolor pencils. So what I would do is, again, I just color down some color onto my mat, but then I've got the water already self-contained in these little water brushes, and I can just pick up color right away and start coloring. Okay, so
And these are the Studio Light water brushes, $15.95 for a pack of 3. We love these.
okay, so what I did I kind of combined some of the things that we're already talking about. So I stamped this image from All in Create twice, and I did some work on it, and then on the second image I colored the butterfly and fussy cut him out and placed him on top. So what I am going to show is maybe not the butterfly stage, but I'll show kind of how I worked these bubbles. And then of course I'm going to show that super cool water background. Okay, so I just started from the background on this one, and I would spray, like I said, I just spray up some water. I'm using the VersaFine, oh my god, mine's dirty. The VersaFine Pigment Ink. I think Heather just burst into laughter. Okay, well anyway.
You can tell this is well loved.
I do love my VersaFine. So this is the Onyx Black.
I do as well.
But
Yes.
but more differently. Not so messily does she love it. But anyways, we know this about each other. So for the reason why I choose that is it's really good with the water media techniques. With the pigment ink, I want to have it a minute to set. So if this has been stamped, this one's overnight, but if I was going to do it right away, I might give it a heat set, okay? So now I've got my watercolor pencil and some sort of grading tool, and I'll just kind of run it over and just let the water do its work and let all these pigmenty beautifulness bloom. I might want more than one color. Good. My fingernails are causing me issues. So now, the idea would be if it hits puddles of water, if it looks to me like I don't maybe have quite enough water on there, I can just set that aside and wait, or just add just a smidgen more. Am I getting our tech? Of course I am. I'm just going to leave that, and then of course watch that color just bloom, and that's such a great background, okay? So because I'm working wet again, I don't need to stop at this point and dry this. I'm not concerned about, the only thing I would be concerned about is mixing of color, but I'm just going to stay within the same color family, so I'm good to go. And so I don't need to stop at this point, but I'm just going to take, so what I would do is, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to show you about any watercolor pencils, period. If I color this down hard and then do this, you can see there's still a line in there. That line is going to stay behind unless I'm gentle, okay? So there's two ways to avoid this line, okay? First off is do it to the side and create a little puddle of color. Or the other thing that I will do is I'll just apply it super gently, just on the side, just a nice, like I'm lightly shading it in, and then I'll use my water brush and just pick up the pigments and move them around and spread them out. Okay? Super easy, super fun. So for all you people that understand what I'm saying when they say I'm not very patient about sitting down and coloring, I can do this. This is something I can do to add color to my stuff.
It's beautiful.
Right?
So the one thing probably to note, Nancy did show you that she used the VersaFine ink, which is pigment ink.
Yeah.
So it's best obviously to let it dry or heat set it to make sure it's permanent before you're bringing in wet media.
Absolutely.
So of course you can use archival or anything that is quick drying and permanent. Highly recommended for this technique.
You betcha. So let's say I want to go up to 2 colors. Ooh, look at you go. So what I can do is take this bubble here and I can put one color kind of here. Right? Again, stay light-handed. Don't go overboard because a couple of reasons. One is you can always add more color later. And secondly, you do not, particularly now, I'm not looking for this mark that I'm going to accidentally leave behind if I push into the paper. So I'm just going to break up that ink and smooth it out and blend them together a little bit. And now I've got a 2-color blend.
Beautiful.
Right? So for this card, I just kept going with that, and I did all the bubbles, and then I went over them with glossy accents. That's what I used there. And
Love
then
that. Let's show that close so you can see that it actually looks like a bubble.
Yeah. So that came out so sweet.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
I'm actually going to put this in an art journal, I think. I don't think I'm giving this away on a card. I love it too much. So then the other thing that I would do is sometimes you get these little finicky flowers that, you know, coloring, you're kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to take too long. So that's where I would come in with whatever color I want, and I'll just add a little kind of dab of color.
A little dabble do.
A little dabble do ya into each flower, and then come back and just kind of blend it out, spread it out again. But this time I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for full coverage. I'm definitely going to pick up some of the color from behind that I sprinkled. But again, I'm just looking to add just kind of a hint of color onto the flowers, maybe even leaving some white. And that's really what I really, really love about these Distress pencils is that, like I said, I can look at all these colors that I can throw in a suitcase and play with and do tons of mixed media techniques with. Like for example, just another quick show. Let's just say I'm the type of person who loves that splotching technique that we all like to do with our, sorry, Heather. Heather's my picker-upper when I drop crap. Okay, so let's say you know when you stamp, you smoosh out your ink and you spritz it and then you dip it. Well, nobody wants to bring 60 inks on vacation or to a crop. So this is just the other way to do it, is I can just kind of create my puddle just by coloring down again on my mat. The other thing I think would be handy is if you're concerned about mixing, I can color into each other on this one, and I'm not ruining my pencil like you may be concerned about with a pad, with cross-contamination, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give that a moisten. I could let that sit for a minute, but I'm not going to worry because the way I'm going to do this is just drag it right through. And I've got that smooshy background again, just the same as I would.
Very cool.
Right? So it's just, to me, it's just a portable ink. It's so sweet.
Well, plus we all love to know many, many ways to use our supplies.
Right.
So, you know, we've done this, the smooshing technique, use it as a pencil, crayon, watercolor, you've used the shavings. So there's 4 right there, right? Like a multi-purpose product.
One more.
Awesome.
Okay, see these babies? So I know sometimes some of these more intricate, is a good word, stamps, they can be tough to work with. It's a little bit like, okay, now what? So, but what I love is just adding a little pink to their cheeks, maybe a little bit to their hat. So what I did, I'll just show you, is I started off with the images stamped, and I just went over it with some Distress Vintage Photo.
Just a little smudge.
Just a smudge, yeah.
Antique it up, grunge it up a little bit.
Mostly because my paper was white and I thought that was boring.
A little much, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I started. And then I just, like, let's just say I want to add just a smidgen of blush to her cheek. I'm just going to do my
And I think
color.
Watercolors are great for those of us. I don't Copic color.
Yeah.
I'm not real precise on that kind of like knowing the blends and shading, but watercolor crayons
very
are
forgiving.
very forgiving, but yet allows you to give the definition and the color to, you know, stamped images.
So there you go. We all know how to apply blush. I'm just going to give her a little bit of blush on her cheeks. Upside down is hard, sorry. That's not as good as my original, but still. I went from a white stamped black and white image to something with a little bit more character.
That's fantastic.
Even on her hat, you can barely tell. I used fossilized amber to kind of pump up the straw look of the hat. And I could even add another layer if I want to. Just keep going. Like if you feel like it's just not quite enough color, or you want to add a little color splash, not the whole thing. There, see?
Very cool.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. Yes,
So
gorgeous. Our studio audience is just gorgeous.
All right, so that was some of my play. And then, of course, I did that one similar ways again.
Yeah,
so
just
when I'm
color
coloring,
in bits of it, right?
yeah, so the good news about coloring stamps is a lot of the times the stamps are telling you where the shadows are because it's already kind of darker there. So I might put down a lot more color around the dark spots and then blend out. And then I run out of my color towards the middle and it looks like it's supposed to.
Yes.
But so I'm cheating because I don't know enough about shadows and stuff like that. But if I let the stamp guide me,
Yeah.
good to go.
For sure. So of course we're using, Nancy's been primarily showing the Distress crayons, but of course you get the same idea in effect with our Colorista colored pencils. Same idea, right? Just another manufacturer.
Super duper. Yeah. Did you want to show something with the Distress gels before we go back to the Coloristas?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So I just have a stamped image here. So now I've used the Creative Scrapbooker Super Stock. So this is a nice heavyweight paper, perfect for mixed media. And I've just stamped it in Archival Black. There. And I just started a bit here, and I'm just going to show you how I use the watercolor crayons to color in an image. Can you see that there? So just a nice stamped image on the white.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that bit of shine. Yeah, I like
You
that.
betcha. The shimmer is showing, I think.
The shimmer is showing.
Let's see if we got any questions while you're
So, like Nancy showed you here, because this awesome mat's got that bit of texture to it.
Okay.
I'm going to take down some crayon there. And I like to use them flat like that. I like to keep the flat edge on it because when I'm using it on an embossed surface, it helps me to kind of get that embossed raised image without doing the entire thing, if that makes any sense. That's how I like to do it.
So while you're working, I'm just going to answer. Jennifer had a question. How do I think these compare to other watercolor pencils? I've had different watercolor pencils from different companies. I have Derwent. I have Generals. I have Neocolor 2s, which are water-soluble crayons. I think these would be equal to the Neocolor 2. So if you've ever heard anybody in mixed media talk about the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2, which are ridiculously expensive, I would happily just buy these and be happy for the rest of my life. These are excellent. Comparatively, what I like about the watercolor pencils is they are hard. The gel are super soft comparatively.
Yes.
These are a harder whatever pigment stick, I guess. So that's sort of, I think, how they compare to other watercolor pencils, is they're equally hard. Derwent Ink Tense is the only one I've seen go super, super bright as far as their pigment and color intensity, but these keep up. They're really vibrant and great color. So my personal feeling is they're as good as any fine art out there.
Thank you for that.
Which was probably why I was worried about buying them, but now I'm a convert.
Excellent. Good question. Keep them coming. So I've just taken my Distress Crayon, used it on my media mat here to drop some color down so that I can pick it up with my watercolor brush. And inside my stamped image, I'm just dropping down some color.
You betcha.
Like I said, these colors are metallic, so there is that mica property in there.
So sweet.
Right, so it's just adding some shimmer and another way to use your Distress crayons. Now what if what color would be, I'm going to clean this off. So with the watercolor brushes, I always just keep a paper towel handy, let some of the water out, and then it cleans your tip right off. So you're ready to move to your next color. How about a splatter technique with these? What color should I use? I'm going to use this one.
Okay.
Ooh, that's pretty.
That's a stunner.
It's a stunner. I will let you know that is out of one of the new collections. This is holiday set number 5. So this one is not on special, but if you're getting a deal on the other ones, you may as well grab this one.
Right? You need them all.
Need them all. I might have to add more water to that. Okay, well, I'm going to add more crayon. Maybe a spritz of the water, Nancy. Thank you. So there we go. I just added a fair amount more water to that. I could pick it up with a paintbrush as well.
Nice pool of water and pigment. You're laughing.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going now for sure.
Yeah.
These are very fine splatters. Maybe not showing up so swell on camera.
Yeah, because I'm using a really fine tip water brush. I would use generally my fan brush.
Yeah.
If I would have thought to bring it, but...
Well, you know. It still works.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Look at those.
Okay, that's
Patience
cool.
paid off.
Right. So anyways, you could use it for splattering. Yep. So watercolor with your Distress crayons.
All right. So I see Charlene's plugging a class, and I'm really glad she's doing so because she's going to be using the Colorista coloring pencils. And I was actually going to mention about Charlene when I show the colored pencils in a sec, because I'm no expert, so I'm going to show you kinda. And then if you really want to know how to do it, you're going to have to take a class with Charlene.
Oh, Charlene's our
Colorista.
Yeah, all the things coloring.
Right?
All the ways. Just going to show something else real quick here. Another way to, in a suggestion from Tim Holtz, to get your distress crayons to really move well, if you're going to create a collage or cluster or layers, is to put down a layer of collage medium. So again, here I've used the Creative Scrapbooker Super Stock.
Oh, really?
Which, by the way, we sell in packages or single sheets, whereas the Vicky Booten foundations we just sell in packages. Collage medium dries really fast too. Excuse me, I just used a foam brush to put it down, set it aside for a very short amount of time, and it was dry. So now I kind of have a sealed surface. So I had done that on this piece of Super Stock as well, just did some quick coloring on the lines or in lines across it. And now I'm going to lay down a stencil on it and grab a wet wipe. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Just going to...
So the matte medium creates a ground.
A grounding for it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and then with my wet wipe,
Oh.
I'm going to rub it through. So like I said, the background was just primed with a collage medium. And then I ran my Distress Crayons quickly across the back. And now with a wet wipe. And a wet paper towel works fabulous for this as well. You don't want anything too wet, in all honesty.
Not soppy. Oh my gosh.
And now I've removed that crayon off the background. How cool is that?
It's brilliant.
Yeah, so you could do a whole background, multiple colors, rub it around with your finger, do whatever you want. And then you can just remove some of that to create another pattern.
Again, though, if I was working with the gel crayons, I think the sooner I do the rub off, the better, though, isn't it? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
It is much harder to move and work around once it's dry.
Yeah, because it's the pigment in it. I think it makes it more permanent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But because I used a collage medium, it gives me more working time. If you were just going straight to paper, it will dry fairly fast and less, and it's more difficult to maneuver.
Okay.
So that trick with the collage medium is fantastic. And I'll just show you that really quick. So again, here, this is just a piece of the Super Stock prepped with the collage medium. Excuse me. And I'm just going to put down some color. And even when you're putting it down, you can feel how smoother it lays down versus a regular unprepped piece of cardstock. Just put down some colors, just willy-nilly like that. And then I'm going to create a little pool, and I'm just kind of going to finger paint a little bit.
Yay, finger painting.
See? And I'm moving that color around just with water and my finger. And it cleans off your hands lickety-split because it's just a pigment.
Yeah.
It's not a stain.
Right?
Yeah. So like that. Anything. Right, so you can just customize your backgrounds too. So it just goes to show how easy it is to move with that collage medium. And then you can just add in another color. And because it's pigment, you honestly can leave the lids off while you're working with it. It's not going to dry out.
Right?
For the time being. Don't leave them off.
Well,
overnight.
permanent leaving off is not a good thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. See?
Well done. Sell.
Yeah. And then if it were dry, I could do the technique again with the stencil, remove some of the color. So it just moves really fast, really nice and easy. If I had a portion of it I wanted to take off, just use my wet wipe. Voila.
Holy crap. That's
Right?
just amazing.
So everybody, make sure you've got great cardstock for mixed media and a tub of collage medium as well.
I say it's collage medium's a staple in our
Oh,
world.
goodness. We use it for everything.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I think I'm going to do the last and final little show. And what I'm going to do is I've got the Jofi Christmas wreath stamp. So if you don't know, Jofi's coming.
Woohoo!
So you might want to take a class with Jofi. She's not going to do it this way. So I'm going to show you a new way to use this stamp. So that, like Heather said, options are always better. Okay, so we have these cool little packs And we're getting more, but we're also getting this pack. I'm just gonna open one up and show you. So we're actually, this pack, it's like your Gamsel starter pack. It's $24.95, okay? Now the good news is we have, it had been on back order, but we have little jars of Gamsel, about the same size coming, but it's from Spectrum Noir, okay? So this is coming. It also, in this pack, we have blending, okay, these have 500 different names. So if you've heard Tortillon, Stomps, blending Stomps, blending Stumps, blending Pencil, I don't know, I've heard 500 names. And then this little guy is sandpaper that you would use to help clean up the edge of your blending stump or help keep this nice pencil shape. So you kind of just rub it on there, and then it's got a stack of sandpapers that you can just rip off as they get worn out. So for $24.95 you can get your starter set. We are also going to have shortly in store, we don't have everything yet, but it's coming, just the stumps or stomps and the Gamsel, which is the important part, okay? So I have a stomp. I have some Gamsel of a different brand.
Little goes a long ways too, right?
I have way too much Gamsel. Like this is a lot of Gamsel for a normal person. This is my small bottle. Okay, so I overdid that. But anyway.
Normal is underrated.
Normal is highly underrated. Okay, so color is...
Normal's overrated, sorry. Overrated.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to grab, say, fiery red. Let's see. I don't know what color. So, like I said, Charlene is our color gal. If you want to learn about coloring and using Gamsel and shadows and dimension and all of that, she's your gal. I'm just going to show you a technique that I use as to kind of get by, and that really works for me and sort of elevates my pencil crayon game. But like I said, I think if you take a Charlene class, it'll take you up even more. Okay. So how this is happening. So let me just show you on the side really quickly what Gamsel will do. So I've got Marigold, and I'm just going to color down. So again, when I'm coloring, I don't grind into the paper. I know when I was a kid I sure did.
You're light-handed with
I
this
try to
technique.
light-hand,
yeah.
because what I can do is I can layer on more color and more color and more color. And it's just sort of, to me, in terms of art and artistry, a light hand is just generally a good rule of thumb, okay? And I have to remind myself of that every time I sit down, because I am pretty good about
Being heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, obviously a great tip, because you can always add the color, add the layers, right?
Right.
So start light.
Okay, and all of this, there it is. Okay, so here's my blending stuff. So I'm just going to dip this in Gamsel, and then just watch what it does to the pencil crayon. It just seems to, I don't know, I kind of call it melt it, is what I call it, but it sort of spreads it out, and it takes out that...
Like a blending agent? Is that
Yeah, it's what it
primarily?
is. It's what it is. It's actually meant for, was really originally meant as a studio cleanup.
Oh.
But obviously somebody thought, well, what would this solvent do to my coloring, right?
Yeah.
So next thing you know, we're all using it in our coloring. So if I was going to do, say, this berry, I might start and just add a little bit of color, again, just lightly handed to one side of the berry. And then I could come back with, say, I've got sunburst yellow. And I could just go in and add a little bit here. And then again, I'm just going to grab my Gamsel, and I'm just going to blend these two out and move it. It moves the pencil crayon a little and gives and blends out. So I don't know, in my brain I have this silly little image of all these little pigment balls just waiting to be broken up and moved around. So that's what I'm doing. So I might add a little more and then I can come back. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to have pigment on my blending stump. I can work that off on the side. And of course, that's another great use for this sandpaper is I just sand off and reshape the top of my point.
Stump.
Yeah. Thank you. Words.
The thing.
The thing with the thing. Anyway, so then I've got, so I can just kind of go back and forth and play and play and play, adding color until I like, maybe I want more red, I want it more red, and come back. So, I just think it elevates my pencil crayon coloring. I will never be a Charlene. I'm just going to admit
That
it.
blend is beautiful.
Isn't that? I just don't have a significant amount of patience for going deep diving into pencil crayon coloring. I just don't. But what I find is for art and stamping, this is just one technique that just kicks my stuff up a notch to make me look like a pro. So anyway, highly recommend. Like I said, we have 2 of these kits available. $24.95, and broken down, we have all the pieces coming. So I think we're good. Did we say what we need to say?
Yep.
Let's check if there's any questions.
And like I said, I mean, YouTube is absolutely a great resource for all the items you buy. You can go get more ideas on there.
I'm going to try to turn this
You
up.
want to trigger your own ideas. Great starting point.
See if I can.
Can you see us?
Can you see us?
Can you see us? Can you see us now?
We'll just. All right, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Oops, sorry.
It's okay. There you go.
Okay. Thanks. It's looping. Thanks for being here today.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank
Hope you appreciate
you.
it, Clark. Do not forget our 25% off.
Demo deal today and tomorrow. 25% off. You'll see the listed items on the online store, or we'll be happy to tell you all about them if you come see us in store too.
Betcha. Bye
Thanks,
for now.
everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
This is hooked up to this computer, so when we're done counting, you can just come and sit over here and print out all the